There are actually 3 different editions of the new album. There's the double CD in a regular jewel case with slipcase. There's a special edition box with the regular edition and the DVD in a slim case. And last but not least, this beautiful limited fold-out, I'll fold it out for you, package with double CD and DVD and an expanded booklet with 36 pages. I'm not going to show all 36 of them. The DVD contains a lot of goodies. There's a 15-minute behind-the-scenes documentary with a lot of footage of the musicians arriving on the airport, singing in the studio and being interviewed. There's a 6-minute CGI movie of the song Beneath the Waves. There are 6 bonus tracks with my vocals. There's the drum session with Ed Warby. There's a teaser trailer. And there's the bloopers where we get to hear the singers fuck up.
Breaks the golden sun rays, silver dances on the waves, but a memory.
With my first Ayreon album, The Final Experiment, I started a story arc that turned out to be much more than I could ever imagine at the time. I continued to build this Ayreon universe in The Electric Castle, The Universal Migrator, and my previous album, The Human Equation. Lyrically, 01 goes back to the roots of all the previous Ayreon albums, tying them all together, while at the same time bringing in some new elements. The overall topic is about as dark as it gets, the end of the world and life as we know it, the so-called 6th extinction. 01011001 is binary ASCII code for the letter Y. Planet Y is the water planet of the race Forever, who was introduced on my 3rd album, Into the Electric Castle. The Forever race has become completely dependent on machines and technology. The machines are keeping them alive. There's no more sickness or danger. Everyone is immortal. But the downside is that there's no more challenge, no emotions, no struggles in life. Without any of that, what's the use in living? So, to regain their emotions, they create a new race by sending their DNA to the Earth with the help of a comet, thus creating us, humankind. Whether this turns out for the better or worse is for the listeners to decide. The alien collective Forever is portrayed by 10 singers. They are the leading cast on the album and sing in most of the songs. Then there are 4 songs on the album sung by 7 humans, mostly duets between male and female singers. If you like previous Ayreon albums, you're going to like this one as well. All of the elements are there, the heavy guitars, analog synths, traditional folk instruments and a wide range of vocalists with different styles. 10-minute plus epic songs and stark contrast from one song to the next, sometimes even within the same song. Now, it's hard to say this without seeming arrogant, but I do think that 01 surpasses anything I've ever done in terms of songs and production. So I'm really proud of this album and I hope that both existing fans and new listeners alike will enjoy it.
Beneath the waves we were unbeatable. In a world without frontiers. Beneath the waves we were untouchable.
I think my albums are very different from other rock operas that are surfacing lately, mainly because I'm an old bastard. But seriously, I grew up in the 60s, so ever since then I saw many great bands rise, like the Beatles, Floyd, Purple, Zeppelin and Sabbath, so I can draw my inspiration from many different decades. Having said that, I try my best to keep innovating and improving my music, and not to be stuck in the 60s or 70s or 80s. So I always check out new music and I want to stay updated. And I think this new music surely has some influence as well. I want my albums to sound modern, but still to have that old analog feel. I don't care one bit about fashions though, because they're here today and gone tomorrow, and I want to make timeless music. A reoccurring theme on my albums is the loss of emotions. I'm always so afraid of that, because the way you experience music when you were in your teens was so much more intense than you do now. And I'm always very afraid of losing that because my love for music is what keeps me and Ayreon alive. So if there ever comes a time when I'm not interested in new music and I start repeating myself, I'm afraid that's the moment when I'll be stuck and I would have to quit. Now, a lot of people have told me that 01 reminds them of my earlier albums, The Final Experiment and Electric Castle. But I didn't do that intentionally. Of course, it's pretty hard to be objective at this point, actually. I've come up with my own distinct sound through the years, and I didn't feel it was time to dramatically change my style. Now, compared to the Human Equation, 01 has more of a band feel to it. The Human Equation was more focused on the singers, and the story was very clearly laid out. 01 is much darker, and the lyrics are more cryptic, which gives listeners room to make their own interpretations. Listeners probably won't find it an instantly accessible album. It'll take some listening before everything sinks in, and the album will grow with each listen, or at least I hope so. But, in my view, that's what makes it interesting. I mean, why spell it out when you can make something more challenging? Until I finish an Ayreon album, I'm always completely empty, I've put everything I have into the whole production and there's nothing left really. It's actually very depressing to finish a project of this scope and realize that I've got nothing to work on next, and I call this my black hole period. But so far this has always been temporary, luckily. Eventually the inspiration always comes again, and before I know it I'm collecting ideas for a new project. Now, usually the first new ideas set the tone for what I'll do next. If it feels like Ayreon, then I'll do an Ayreon. And if it feels like something else, then I create a new side project based on the ideas. Basically, I never plan ahead, but I let the ideas come naturally. If it's an Ayreon, the instrumental music comes first, and then I let the music inspire me to come up with the basic story. Then I choose the singers, whose voices inspire me to write the lyrics. Now, initially I planned to release a really dark and heavy single album, but while working with the demos in the studios, the inspiration started flowing, and I came up with all these softer acoustic and melodic songs as well. There were just too many good songs to not just go for it and make it a double album, incorporating both the heavier and softer material to create the balance that Ayreon albums are known for. Now, my initial plan was to keep the number of vocalists down this time around, to keep things at least somewhat manageable. But in the end, there were just too many great vocalists who were willing to sing on the album that I ended up with no less than 17 singers, including myself. So it turned out to be a real blessing to have 2 albums of material, because I needed the room for all these great vocalists. People often ask me how I choose singers for Ayreon. And it's really quite simple. I just keep track of vocalists who move and inspire me. And when the time comes, I or the record company asks if they'd be interested in singing for me. And now that Ayreon is becoming more known all over the world, it happens more and more that vocalists actually get in touch with me, offering to sing on my projects. Now, I really enjoy working with vocalists and trying to get the best out of them, which is why it's imperative for me to fly them over to my studio rather than have them record their parts in their own studio and send them over the internet. It's so much more spontaneous and flexible to have them in my studio. Sometimes melodies don't work, but then you can work on it together and change them. And I've learned over the years that this gets the best results. And there's always some magic going on, because we both want to impress the hell out of each other, On Zero One, as on my previous albums, I've got some well-known vocalists as well as relatively unknown talents. But they are, of course, all equally important to me when it comes to making my music.
Face the fight.